Hey all, welcome to Parker's Reefs. On today's episode, we're going to put a bunch of new fish into my dream reef tank, including a fish that I've been waiting a very long time for. Alright guys, thank you for joining me on another episode of Parker's Reefs, and I'm pretty excited today because a fish that I have been waiting for a very long time has become available at my local fish shop. Dave from Deer Park has gone above and beyond and got a hold of a Femininus wrasse for me, and not only has he done that, he's actually held it in his coral display tanks there, or coral sail tanks I should say, just to make sure that it's fully settled in and ready to go before I brought him home, and today is the day. Now, I have to say that I've had a few, I wouldn't say sleepless nights, but I have lacked maybe a few minutes of shut eye over the last couple of weeks while I've been stressing about this fish, mainly because it's just a very rare and not an, well, it's not an affordable fish for starters, but it's a fish that I just want to get right. And I have to admit, I haven't had the greatest of success with small fish in my dream reef tank for the last few months. So adding a fairly expensive and a fish that I've been waiting a long time to get in the Femininus wrasse to the display has me a bit nervous, but I do have a strategy to tackle that. And I'm going to take the opportunity to put a whole heap of some other fish in the tank at the same time, just to diffuse or dislodge the attention of the existing fish. So there's not one new fish in the tank, there's a good dozen or so in there, and that should hopefully keep them pretty busy and maybe not let them pick on my wrasse at all. But time will tell. I think it's probably time we head up the highway and have a look at this fish and see what else we can get to add to the mix. So let's go, let's jump in the car, let's head up to Deer Park Aquarium. All right, 1 hour driving up the highway, and here I am at Deer Park Aquarium. And I have to say, Dave has got the shop ready for the long weekend because this front room's super tidy. Although that display tank there looks like I might need to give it a little clean on the weekend, but we'll get to that because the main thing I wanted to come here for is this coral bay here and this absolutely stunning Femininus wrasse that's been in this tank waiting for me to take home for just over a week now. And it's got the attention of pretty much every customer that's come in the store. So I guess a thank you to Dave for putting up with all of the questions of whether that fish is available. I'm going to take him home today so you don't get hassled about it anymore. And well, I say him, I think it's a her by the markings, and what a stunning fish it is. This is a fish that I did have in my previous display tank about 5-6 years ago, and unfortunately I added a hogfish which eventually bullied it out of eating and basically just starved it out in the end. And it's a fish that I've just pretty much since that day wished I could have my time again with. So today is the day. I've finally got my hands on a nice Aussie hand-caught Femininus wrasse, and this one's an absolute stunner. You can see how busy and active it is. It just continually grazes away at the rock and the sand, continually forking away, or I think that's the word, just looking for little things to nibble on and keeping busy and active and just showing off those beautiful colors and patterns. So it's going to make a fantastic addition to my tank, but there are other fish I want to add in with this one just to take the attention away from it being the new fish in the tank. And I want to go back to some anthias that I've had some success with previously. The so-called basic anthea, the lyre tails. Dave's got in a great school here for me. I'm not going to take them all, but I'm thinking probably one of those beautiful males there with the purple coloration and the yellow lower tail or fin will go really nicely with maybe 8 or 9 females, which are those bright orange ones there. And I think Dave's got 3 males in there and probably a dozen and a half of the females. So there's plenty there for me to get, but I think a nice setup of 8 or 9 of those will be just beautiful. They'll complement the tank really well. With my bicolor anthias that did slowly wither away, I have lost a lot of this sort of color from the tank, and I think the orange and purple is just going to give great movement as well as a real nice contrast against the blue-green chromes I've got in the tank. And when I get the DSLR out, you can see even better of the colors of these guys. I know lyre tails are often considered like the most basic anthea, and I guess compared to some of the other anthias out there, there are some more vivid colors and markings on them. But when you look closely at lyre tail anthias, they're absolutely stunning fish. And I do love how contrasty there is between the males and females, which just really showcases them well. There is another anthea though that I would like to add, and again, this is my opportunity while I'm adding all these fish in, and it's these sunburst antheas. I will just pick one of them up. I'm probably going to go for the smaller of the two, just because Dave tells me that they don't always have great long-term success in pairs. It does happen and it does work sometimes, but a solo one of those will be the go. And then there is just a couple of other fish over here, these beautiful pyramid butterflies, another fish that I have had previously in my display tank, and I only added one at that time, just because I wasn't sure how well it would go in a fully mixed reef system, but it worked an absolute treat. So seeing these guys in, and they're nice and small, real healthy looking fish, I figured I might try a small school of 3, which is going to be the most risky addition in this batch here. This is the last of the fish I'm adding today. That's about all my tank and my wallet can handle, but that'll be the ones that'll just cap it off nicely, I think. And one of the perks of buying fish at the store that you part-time work at is that, I say perks, but one of the catches, I guess, is that you have to catch and bag these fish yourself, because that's just what you do. So you get a quick glimpse here with the body camera of catching a couple of lytail anthias here, and then bagging them up and putting them in the box ready to take back with me to Geelong. And I've got no shortage of fish to catch here, so don't worry, I'm not going to run you through every single one, but I've probably got an hour's work worth of catching fish here, just because some of these fish I don't want to put all in the same bag. The anthias I can put a few in at a time, but even then there's still a few bags of anthias. And then of course we've got 3 of these beautiful pyramid butterflies. This one here is going to be fairly easy to catch. It looks like he's not going to be too aggressive. You just got to get that Labooty wrasse out of the way, and there he goes. Beautiful, nice, easy catch there. I'll grab him and 2 more of his friends, but the one that's going to be really difficult to catch will be this. I'll just put this pyramid butterfly in the box. You see I'm wrapping that rubber band off. It's not going to come off anytime soon. The one that's going to be really difficult to catch is this Femininus wrasse. And again, it's a quick fish, but mostly because it's actually in the coral holding tank. You see Dave there. He's going to give me a hand, because Dave is an absolute Yoda Zen master at catching fish, and I had a couple of swipes of the net trying to get this guy, and he just took off under the rack and under some corals. Dave comes over here with a net, uses his hand to sort of guide him across, and what do you know, he's caught it like 10 seconds later, which is absolutely ridiculous. I had my net there just in case he jumped over the barrier, but of course Dave doesn't need that. He knows he's the master, but he's done well. He's caught that fish beautifully. So I'll bag him up and take him home. You can see here I am now, just adding all of the lytail anthias into a bucket, and then doing the same with the pyramid butterflies into another bucket. Those guys were in fish holding systems, so their salinity was a little bit lower. The Femininus I'll do a little bit later, because it was in a coral tank at 1.026. All right, now that I've got most of the fish acclimating, let's have a look, not in that one, but in this one, the little Femininus wrasse is just waiting for his turn or her turn to get acclimated. But in the meantime, I've got both the pyramid butterflies, or all 3 of the pyramid butterflies, just in here acclimating away. And in the other container, I've got the anthias, both the fathead and the lytail school, I guess, all sitting in there. Hopefully they don't pick on the fathead while they're just acclimating in there. You can see I've got off my manifold here, I've got a couple of spare John Guest connections there, which just makes it easy for me to plug in some line and quickly acclimate these fish into the tank conditions. One thing I will point out though, when you do have a manifold like this, whenever you hook up a line to it, particularly if it's one that you normally have off, when you turn it on, just let that water flush through for a second, because you will find you get a bit of detritus and just some stagnant water that's been sitting in there. So I always like to flush that out for a good 30 seconds first, tip that water out, and then put the fish in the bucket, get the hose in there, acclimate them in. It is also important to make sure that you have the outlet of the hose above the water surface so that it actually splashes in. It's a trick that Deer Park Aquarium taught me to ensure that you're breaking the water's surface, and to make sure that no ammonia builds up in there. So I'll give these guys half an hour, both the pyramids and the anthias, and we'll get them in the tank. In that time, I'm going to give my fish up here a big feed, just so that they've got that out of their system, they've had a good feed, and that they're ready to go. And then I'll get to work on acclimating in my prized wrasse. So I'm going to put the camera down and get stuck into it. Here's just a quick time lapse of me putting way too much frozen food in, but I figured I don't mind wasting a cube or two just to make sure that these fish have had more than enough to eat. All right, the fish have acclimated in pretty well. I've just put the extra line into the anthias because I'm going to do them first. Then I'll get that bucket out of there and I'll put it back into the pyramid butterflies there. then they'll get the final bit of acclimation before going into the tank. One other thing I'm going to do, I've just fed them a heap of frozen food, more than they possibly could have eaten. So quite a lot of it ended up in the overflow and in my filter socks. But what I will do to distract the fish, I will put one of these Sarah Spirulina Grazers extra large up that end of the tank just to get all the big fish focused up there. Maybe even fill out some of the seaweed, two little fishy seaweed grazer there. Put that up that end of the tank as well, just so that the fish are all distracted with what's going on up that end. Then I'll introduce the new fish up this end, give them a chance to find their spot in the tank and not have to deal with any of the aggression. So wish me luck, let's see how we go. I do love it when a plan comes together and you can see all of my big fish and some of my smaller fish at the left end of the tank whilst I'm emptying the new anthias who are disappearing into the bottom right hand corner of the tank, just like we talked about. All right, good. Looks like my plan to distract the fish by putting the Sarah food tablet up at this end has worked an absolute treat. Majority of fish are up here, particularly my aggressive fish are up here focused on that, while my anthias are up this end settling in. So I think we're good to get rid of this water now. I can get the pyramid butterflies in their final acclimation stage, and then of course I can go about setting up the Femininus wrasse. Good start. These guys are all very much focused on the algae grazing tab, which is great. Even the smaller fish, you can see the chromis are hanging around there, even the flame hawks and that in the back. Meanwhile, all the anthias are right up the other end of the tank, just getting themselves settled in, although the fox face is there keeping an eye on them, but I'm sure they're doing fine. The male anthia's in there just keeping his ladies in check, telling them all he'll take care of them, so fingers crossed we're onto a winner. All right, now it's the pyramid butterfly's turn. And much like the anthias, they've gone right to the opposite end of the tank and are staying well away from the rest of the fish, although I am noticing that even the anthias are I know, it's just one of the pyramids getting a bit excited, just telling the anthias to give him a bit of space. So hopefully he'll settle in, a bit of the jitters of going into a new tank and he'll be fine. But again, so far so good. Just got the prized possession to go. And here is that prized possession, my Femininus wrasse, which I put into an extra large bag so he had lots of water and lots of air to tide him over, because I knew that would be the last fish I'd be putting into the system. Now, I have actually turned the lights off on my display tank because my fox face was getting a little bit excited about some of the pyramid butterflies. But I'm happy to say that the Femininus wrasse has gone in fine. I'm going to put the cover back on now and give you a little bit of a close-up look, even with the lights off, which makes it a little bit tricky. But you can see the wrasse is settled in perfectly. Even the anthias are doing great. The pyramid butterflies, maybe they're getting a little bit of hassle from the fox face. We can work through that. My primary focus was this Femininus wrasse, and so far, so good. All right, guys, there you have it. That is the Femininus wrasse in my dream reef tank, plus a school of anthias and a trio of pyramid butterflies. I would love to give you a long-term update on how they're all going, but I've literally just finished filming, putting them in the tank, and I'm still biting my nails. The good news is that the anthias and most importantly, the Femininus wrasse seem to be completely settled in. No one's even giving them a second look. The pyramid butterflies, on the other hand, well, my fox face has been a little bit of a terror with those, so hopefully it's just one of those things that the first couple of hours go through and he gets over it and leaves them be, but I will say he's torn one of them up fairly bad, so fingers crossed. I've got the lights off now. There's still plenty of food in the tank. I've closed the hood up. I've got the tank as dark as possible. I'll leave it like that overnight. Hopefully everyone will find their spot in the pecking order and everything will be fine. But like I did say, not that I wanted to lose any fish, and hopefully I won't, but most importantly for me at this point in time, the whole aim of adding all of these fish in was to make sure that the Femininus wrasse stayed nice and safe. And I've got to say, he's not even hiding. Even with the lights out, he's swimming around, picking at the sand, picking at the rock, not giving two hoots about any other fish in the tank. And more importantly, none of the other fish are giving two hoots about him. So I'm going to take that as a success. I will give you an update on how all of these fish are going, because I am fearful I'll probably lose a pyramid butterfly, maybe two, maybe three, but hopefully none. We'll see how things go, and you can rest assured you will get all the updates right here on my channel, Parker's Reef. So if you're yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. It takes 2 seconds of your time, costs no money whatsoever. It is super simple. Just click on that subscribe button in the bottom corner. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. But Other than that, guys, I'll probably leave you with it. I'm going to go back to stressing about my new fish, and if you have any questions, comments, feedback, suggestions, anything at all, pop it in the comments section down below. If you do not know, I personally reply to each and every comment there, including the spam bots, which I don't know, if you're bored on a lazy afternoon like today and you want to read some of the funny comments, feel free to check out on my replies to the spam bots that link to some pretty shady websites. But with all seriousness, if you do want to get hold of me, it is the best way to get to me, because I do, regardless of being a spam bot or a human, I reply to every single comment there. Anyway, guys, I've noticed I've started to ramble. Those nerves are kicking in, so I'm going to wrap this video up. I'm going to go back and stare at my fish tank, make sure everyone's playing nicely. Till next time, guys, stay safe, keep reefing. Cheers, bye.